Welcome to Job Search when you are over 50. This is a presentation that covers information about different issues older workers face when they are searching for work, along with information about ideas and strategies that are often helpful to older workers who are trying to find another job. It is difficult for many people in all ages to find work in the 21st century for a variety of reasons. Older workers encounter problems that are a little bit different than other workers seeking employment. Often, older workers are the best candidates for jobs, but they find that many employers may be holding on to myths and stereotypes about older workers. So for an older person to successfully get a job, it's up to them to understand what employers may be thinking about them, the stereotypes and myths, and it's going to be up to that older person to successfully prove that they deserve a job. In fact, myths and stereotypes are sustained when their validity and accuracy remain unchallenged. Once again, if you're an older person and you cannot convince an employer to give you a job in spite of these stereotypes, it's going to be harder for you to get the job. In many jobs, any advantage that an employer will gain from hiring an older worker will far outweigh any potential negatives. A lot of the time, the advantages that older workers bring to employers include their knowledge and experience from their work history as well as their personal lives. There are other factors to consider as advantages, including an older worker's maturity, their professionalism, the wisdom of how to use that knowledge and experience to do successful things at a job. Most older workers are loyal to the company and they don't want to leave and go from job to job. Usually they are stable, they are flexible, they're willing to help and mentor other employees. They are definitely successful at being team players. They're less likely to engage in any kind of drug or alcohol abuse. By now, after a long career, many older workers have a lot of experience with diversity in the workplace. They have a lot of market knowledge. A lot of older workers don't participate in workplace drama. They usually have great communication skills. They can manage their behaviors, especially their emotions, on a job more effectively. And even though up to now they may have had a lot of success in their career and gained more responsibilities along the way, many older workers don't need to be the boss anymore, so they won't be a threat to younger workers who do desire the upper level positions. They definitely appreciate having a job, and older workers are less likely to abuse leave. As mentioned previously, lots of employers have untruths and stereotypes when it comes to thinking about hiring an older person. So, older job candidates have to realize that some obstacles will come up. They have to be able to recognize those obstacles, to plan ahead and figure out what they're going to do to overcome those obstacles. And as always, for any job seeker, they have to constantly remind employers about the advantages they'll gain when they give them a job. These untruths and stereotypes and myths that have been referred to up till now do include some things that are often not true at all about many older workers, including some obvious ones. Some employers believe that older workers are unhealthy, or they're going to require a wage that is more than the company can afford. Often employers assume that older workers are unable or unwilling to learn. they're mentally or physically slow. Older workers to employers often are people who are technologically challenged, or they may have health insurance requirements that are too costly for the employer. Also, a lot of employers believe that older workers will take a lot of time off from the job. Sometimes employers believe that older workers don't really have to work. They just want a job so they can mark time until they are semi-retired or they're totally retired. Often, employers perceive older workers as people who have a lot of difficulty getting along with younger staff, or they have almost no experience with diversity in the workplace. And it goes without saying, many employers believe that older workers will be too stubborn, or they're going to be too set in their ways, or they're going to be too bossy or a know-it-all. And some employers believe, along with some of the employees at the company, believe that older workers are going to steal other people's jobs. Whenever an older person thinks about these stereotypes and starts creating strategies to deal with these obstacles, again, they always have to remember it's up to you to prove the employer wrong. The best proof you can provide to employers to show that they are not right about these stereotypes is your track record of success, your real-life experiences from your career, along with your recent and relevant training. Often, for many applicants, convincing an employer to hire you involves educating them. It's kind of like holding their hand and walking them through the hiring process. They make assumptions, they're a little fearful in giving you a job, so it's up to you to walk them through and help them realize that it makes a lot of sense to give you that job because you're going to bring a lot of advantages to the company once they hire you. Some other things to consider when you are asking for a job as an older person. Some employers do believe that your skill sets are going to be way out of date. Depending on the kind of job you want, sometimes that might be true. You should investigate resources that can help you gain new job skills. Often these resources are free, and a lot of the time they are available on the internet. One thing that comes up a lot in jobs will be your level of computer skills. So always remember the websites where you can improve your computer skills free of charge. That's gcflearnfree.org, maganga.com, and YouTube. Also, older workers, just like everybody else, want to present themselves in a professional manner, and that does include their appearance for job interviews. You can still be stylish as an older person, and there are resources that can help you determine what makes you look the best. You'll see in the printed materials some general suggestions about older workers and what they should wear. Just keep in mind that there are styles of clothing that are totally inappropriate for the workplace, and it doesn't matter what your age is. You should dress as stylishly as you can afford, but you should also dress age appropriate. There are other assumptions you should be mindful of when you ask for work. Some employers will believe that you are going to have low energy. When you communicate with employers, especially when you're in interviews, you should act positive, energetic, and excited. You want them to know that you're grateful for this interview opportunity, and you want to always emphasize that it's important for you to get a job with their company. You actually want to work for them. Sometimes, especially in job interviews, you may need to get in front of potentially negative information. And again, it's going to be up to you to prove them wrong when they make wrong assumptions about you. For example, employers don't know that you don't require a high salary. So if you are not looking for a high salary, you may need to talk about that in a job interview. They also may not know that you have your health insurance taken care of. So it's going to be up to you, if necessary, to let them know you won't cost a lot of money when it comes to health insurance. Many employers are going to assume that you are ready for retirement any day now. So when necessary, it's going to be up to you to let them know you have no intention of retiring anytime soon and that you do want to get a job with them and stick around. Always in a job interview for any applicant, you need to share information about experiences you've had in your career when you made money, saved time, and solved problems. Also, it helps to give employers examples of things that you learned quickly on a job. A big concern for older applicants is the notion of being overqualified. In fact, many older workers hear this often when they go through job interviews. You should assume that's going to come up in your interview, so you need to be prepared to answer to that. All kinds of reasons are given by employers when they talk about a candidate being overqualified for a position. Basically, it boils down to two things that the employer believes. Number one, they believe that if they give that older applicant the job, they are going to get bored. Number two, even if the applicant states that they don't require a high salary, eventually, once they get the job, they're going to look for more money. So those two reasons together often make employers decide not to offer a job to an older applicant. Definitely, it's up to you in a job interview to convince that interviewer that you want that job more than any other job. You have to always share information about the advantages they're going to gain once they give you that job. And you should bring up examples and information about the value you offer to that company. Again, employers will not be able to read your mind, so it's up to you to successfully communicate that important information. When you use various tools to sell yourself to employers in order to get job interviews, there are some other considerations to make. For example, your resume and the way you write your resume. You should word your resume carefully. If you have concerns about your age showing up in your resume, you do have the option to leave out dates that you attended school or training. In some cases, you may be able to leave out the dates where you worked at a company. On your resume, you should always emphasize recent and relevant. That means your work history should be covered for the preceding 5 to 15 years of your employment. The same thing applies to your education and training. You should try to highlight your technological skills on your resume. Definitely, you should continue to provide evidence of your success in your career. That includes writing about situations in your work history when you learn things quickly, when you solve problems, and when you mentored and helped other employees be successful in their jobs. If you are seeking a job at a lower level of responsibility now, there may be some information that your resume should not emphasize. You may need to leave some things out so that you don't show yourself to be potentially overqualified. Definitely in a resume, just like you answer questions in an interview, you need to stress to employers that you can do the job successfully and you are willing to go above and beyond. In job interviews as an older applicant, there are some questions you should expect to get, and you should figure out how you're going to answer them. Some examples include, why aren't you retired? Do you really want this job? When are you going to retire? Do you think you might be overqualified for a position like this? Why would you want to take a pay cut in order to get this job? As always, for any applicant, you should practice your interviewing skills because you probably haven't had an interview in a long time and you're going to be rusty. You will be talking about things you did for past employers, possibly things you did in jobs prior to the last 15 years. You should still try to emphasize what you've done and what you've learned that took place in the preceding 5 to 15 years of your career. Try to dress as stylishly as possible for any interview. Once again, be age appropriate and don't be tempted to dress inappropriately, especially with casual styles of clothing. If there's anything you were known for when you worked at past jobs, things that employers appreciated about you or your coworkers appreciated about you, it's always helpful to bring up that information. For example, you could say, I was always recognized by my bosses and coworkers for going above and beyond whenever I did my job and helped customers. If you want more information about this subject, you can attend the Job Search When You Are Over 50 workshop, which is offered twice a month at the Amarillo Workforce Solutions office. To get the details about the days and times when this workshop is offered, visit your account at workintexas.com, and thank you for your time.